Let's move on to the next question. This is a very interesting question as well. And we have, we're in America, so I love if we hear somebody say, "What say you?" You know, we get a smile and say, "Where's this person from?" But the great thing about Voice Masters Livestream is we do have people tuning in from all around the globe. So what say you about the effects of smoking weed or eating edibles by a vocalist and impact on the vocal folds, etc.? This was kind of a discussion in the thread, so I added some little bits. Thank you. My biggest concern, honestly, is the ingestion of different types of edible versions. Singers seem now to understand the negatives of inhaling anything, but seem to not think that edibles are in essence muscle relaxers and will have their own adverse effects over time, the same way that alcohol will. It's becoming a huge battle, especially now that it's become more widely used legally.
Yeah. So I think that like what you say, and I did catch when we were going through, somebody had asked about vaping and other things. We don't have enough research. We know that like when you're vaping oils, you're definitely bringing in the smoke at a lower temperature than you are if you're trying to hit like a joint or especially a bowl. Because if you're using a bowl and you're lighting the lighter, you're sucking in like hundreds and hundreds of degrees of heat right across your vocal folds. That's not a good thing. Water bongs appear to be better. Ice water bongs are probably the best of the actual smoking devices because they cool down the smoke a little, but we still don't even, because in the United States, until it's fully legal for even medical, trying to get research dollars to research what is actually in the smoke is next to impossible. So it's hard for us to be able to have the hard data that we really need to be able to say, yes, that water bong is safer than a joint. So we don't know. We also don't fully understand what are in these distillate cartridges, right? You have some that use CO2 extraction methods, and then you have others that use other extraction methods. And as we saw before COVID, we had a whole thing going on with people having weird lung problems because of some of the oils they had used. Well, if those oils are clogging up the alveoli inside of the lungs, well, what are they doing to the vocal folds as they go over top of the vocal folds?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. We do have some information on, nicotine vaping versus smoking, which does seem to be lower heat, fewer particles, but it's not particle free. There still seems to be some things that within the vape pens, like a Juul, that could still be irritants to that mucosa of the vocal folds. Now, on the edible side, again, we're not actually having anything that touches the vocal folds when you're swallowing that, and then you don't get, if you're using straight up edibles, you're not going to get an effect for like an hour and a half. If you're using tincture drops that go under your tongue, those start to give you some effect within 15 minutes, but you don't get anything until you really you get an extra after you swallow that can then kick in that hour and a half later. And what a lot of people will notice, as I think they were mentioning, is dryness. So marijuana tends to bring on a lot of dryness throughout the system, and you definitely will feel some vocal effects from that. Now, you mentioned the muscle relaxing properties of it. You're correct. It does help. I have a family member who's got more advanced diabetes who can't take regular pain pills. It's an older family member who's got some serious pain issues. And if they take an edible, all of a sudden the pain goes away. The muscles relax. They feel good. It's better than Vicodin for them. So there is absolutely, even without the research, because I know more than just that person that have had that same experience, and I think you're right. That seems to, though, go away, right? Because this person, they can get the benefit from their edible for their 6 to 8 hours, and then the next day they end up still with pain again, and then they got to decide if it's worth it for them to take medicine or not. So I also, again, don't know that we have enough research to really say that it's going to have a long-term effect of a muscle relaxant, but definitely in the moment. So my general advice to the performers I work with is avoid it when you're performing. So if you know that you're going to perform, your bandmates may be smoking up or doing something else before they get on stage, that's cool, that's fine, but I would avoid it because it's going to give you a lot of dryness for most people. It may have some of those muscle relaxing qualities you have. It may have some anti-inflammatory properties that we don't fully understand yet, again, because we lack the research that could put you on, like if we know that you can take a cannabis for a painkiller when naproxen doesn't work, well, how much is it doing some of the same stuff that naproxen's doing? Is it thinning out blood vessels? Is it doing other things? We can see the blood vessel effect in your eyes. So I think again that we need to, tread cautiously on some of that and probably not be using it before performing because it could end up being a problem. I think outside of performing, if it's not bothering you, then it's fine. If it's starting to feel like it's having a negative impact, probably not okay. And unfortunately, until we get better research, I think that's kind of our baseline understanding that we have to run from.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And also, one of the hardest things with edibles is to get the exact right dose. You know, it's and your personal body chemistry of the day plays on a day-to-day basis actually plays a role in that. So yeah, if we could, everybody say you're really nervous and you need to calm down, and you could just get the perfect dose every time, it might help relax the muscles. But then you also have that other side effect where your perception might get altered slightly. At what point does that happen? And what point do your perception during singing and of how you're hearing things, how it's just a simple thing. How many drunk people are singing and feeling like they sound, godly, and very,
Yeah.
very embarrassing on the recording, right?
Karaoke nights across the country. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, be careful with it. And I agree with
Check your strains. I think what you just hit something else I didn't even mention was the strains. I mean, a sativa that amps you up may make you oversing. An indica that makes you just fall into the couch may make it hard for you to have any muscle control of anything. So I think that there's also probably that. And I think, Philippe, you brought up a good point about the anxiety. Don't forget the benefits of CBD oil. And so, the CBD, I tell you, I had a terrible a case of strep throat recent. This maybe it's pre-COVID, but a terrible case of strep throat. Nothing was working. I was stuck at home, and I said to my wife, "Please just go pick me up like a bottle of CBD. Let me see if that'll help take the swelling down, because nothing's working." And sure enough, I used those drops, and I don't know if it was placebo or if it really worked, but I felt like the inflammation was gone in an hour, and I could swallow.
Wow.
And it really made a difference. So, I mean, again, with it being an anti-inflammatory, we don't know what impact that may have throughout the rest of your system. But I mean, some of these CBD oils that you can pick up in stores, I've definitely seen an impact. I've seen it with students too, that students with anxiety issues find that CBD oil can really, really help them. So, if you're looking for a non-THC alternative, check that out to deal with anxiety. It may give you what you're looking for without some of the drying that you get from the full-on cannabis.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, so just be careful, singers. It's not good generally. Oh, well, I don't know really any case that it's, or let's say very, very few cases, a good idea to ingest anything before your performance because you might be losing control, and you want to be in control and have all your senses aware.